The next thing we're going to explore together will be these ellipses here, the blue, yellow, and orange. Holding Space Command, I can zoom in and look at those. Now, if I hold my Command Y, I go into the wireframe, and we can see that these are 3 closed paths. So, with my eraser tool, if you don't see the eraser, it's under the scissors or the knife. I can drag the eraser across this shape, and it's not painting a white line. What it is doing is it is creating a couple of separate shapes, because I was able to, and if we go to Command Y, you can see that there are now 2 closed paths where there used to be 1. Command Y out of wireframe, and then so therefore I can do what I want with the separate shapes. Okay, I'm going to go Command Z back to my originals. Look what else you can do. You can double click the eraser and you can do all kinds of things here. You could, for example, change the angle, the roundness, and the size. So if I take the roundness down, I all of a sudden get an ellipse, but it's not a circle anymore, and then I could put it at an angle. So when I click OK, I now have an eraser that is more like a calligraphy pen. When I go this way, it's thin. When I go down this way, it's thick. Okay, and so if I hit my Command Y, I can see I have 2 closed shapes that I can deal with separately. So basically you're making 2 shapes out of 1. Other things that you can do by double clicking the ruler, you can do size. Notice that these are fixed, but I can say random, and then I can determine that I want the variation of the size of my eraser to vary by, let's say, 7 points. So when I hit OK, watch what happens. The size of that eraser will grow within that margin that I set. So it could be thick and it'll be thin, and the more I do that, I can create a great variety. Let's go up to 10, and it's going to be random. Maybe we can do it by tilt, and so you can see, oops, no idea why that's not happening. So let's go back, variation, tilt. Maybe it has to do. Okay, I know what happened. That's if you have a Wacom pad. So I'm going to do it by random, and we'll be able to see that it randomly gets larger and smaller, and so you get a more organic look than you'd normally get. So I'm going to go back to the eraser, and I'm just going to make it fixed on all of them. So, but you can go and change things like that. Okay, so now they're all fixed. Okay, I'm going to do a Command Z back to where I was. Okay, so that's the eraser tool. You're basically just erasing. There we go. Let's make that back. Erasing and creating 2 shapes with this thick line in between. Okay, now that is opposed to the knife. The knife will, if you start outside your shape and drag it around, it will basically make 2 shapes out of 1 by cutting that line, but you don't have that thickness going on. So you can see that they're both separate shapes. So it basically cuts it without this thicker line going around. That's what that's for. Okay, so that's the knife. And then once you do all that slicing and dicing, you have all these separate pieces. So be careful. Don't run with the knife. Now, the last portion that we're going to explore on this video is the scissors. The scissors will cut from one point on the path to another. So if I click here and I click here, I basically, with the scissors, cut that straight line. You'll also notice, let me see, that it is not a closed path. It is just a line that used to be the edge. Of course, you know what to do. If you wanted that to be a closed path, you select both the points, and then you hit the connect selected endpoints, and then you can see that it is now a closed path. Now, one of the reasons you might want to do this, for example, and keep it as a line segment rather than a closed path. If I switch this around, you can see that it's a line. So with that line, you can go down to your different brush libraries. Let's say, I don't know, borders, borders, just as an example. By selecting these, you can see that your brushes will go along that path and end on both ends. So you don't really have a closed path that would wind up looking goofy like this. Okay, so by having a perfect ellipse, by cutting it with the scissors, you can have a line segment rather than going completely around. So that's kind of a good thing.